In this episode of Throttle Out, we borrowed the Jeep we built for Brian Deegan to come out here to Easter Jeep Safari 2018 in Moab, Utah to check out the prototypes that Mopar and Jeep bring here every year, but maybe more importantly, to hit the trails. So here we are at Easter Jeep Safari 2018 in beautiful Moab, Utah, and I could not be any more excited to check out everything that EJS has to offer. As you can see behind us are some of the concepts that Mopar and Jeep bring to EJS every year. We're also going to be hitting the trails with the Deegan 38 Jeep, the Jeep that we built for Brian Deegan, and I could not be any more excited about that. It is truly a dream come true to hit the trails out here in Moab. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, that way you can check out the build of the Deegan Jeep as well as some other great Jeep content. So today we're going to be hanging out in the town of Moab, but tomorrow bright and early we hit the trails. We are getting the Jeep all aired down, waiting in line, got all checked in, and we're ready to go. We're going to be running Steel Bender today, which is a level 6 trail this year, and it changes every year. It's between 2 drainage zones, so there's a lot of runoff from the mountain. So it could take up to 6 to 9 hours to run the trail, depending on how many Jeeps we have and how slow everyone's going. So it's going to be a long day, but it's going to be an awesome day. Really looking forward to it. So if you guys don't remember, this is the Jeep that we built for Deegan not too long ago. So this has a ton of Deegan 38 parts on it, front and rear bumper, side steps, fender flares. Even the tires are Deegan 38. It's really, really well set up. The lift kit that's on this is the TerraFlex CT4 kit, so it's a long arm kit. We have the Falcon 3.3 adjustable shocks on there. This should have absolutely no problem handling the trail today. It's gonna be a blast. I could not be any more excited. I can't wait to hit the trail. We are on the slow crawl to the trailhead, which it looks like we're only about 50 yards from now, so finally getting out on the trail. We're heading toward the first obstacle here, just got everybody bunched up in a nice tight group, and what we really did is descended into this valley, and we're surrounded on both sides by these absolutely massive sheer cliffs. This is definitely very, very different from what we're used to out on the East Coast. We don't have anything like this. The terrain that we're driving on, right now anyway, is pretty similar to what we're used to seeing, even up at Roush Creek. It's basically loose dirt, loose sand, mixed in with some smaller rocks. But again, the scenery completely different than what we're used to seeing on the East Coast, and the obstacles are also going to be very, very different. So I cannot wait to get to that first obstacle. So we just came down one of the first kind of minor obstacles that we came across on the trail. There's a little bit of a downhill with a little bit of a ledge at the bottom. Now we're coming up a small hill here, just still between this canyon with these beautiful rock walls on both sides here. As I said, we're really between 2 drainage areas, so we're going to be following the stream most of the day. This looks like the next little obstacle that we're going to be coming up on, just some big rock steps that we're going to be going up. So just follow the guy in front of us, pretty much follow his line. Doesn't look like anything too crazy, but it is going to be one of the first more substantial obstacles we're going to hit today. So that was pretty much the first little appetizer obstacle that we hit there. Again, nothing too crazy, but hopefully signs of what's to come. With this being a level 6 trail, we should be hitting some pretty good stuff. Jeep handled that just fine. I had the electronic sway bar disconnected. I did throw the rear locker on, probably didn't need it for that obstacle, but I just didn't want to hold up the group here by doing any slipping, so I figured throw it on, just make it that much easier for us. Looks like we're coming up to our next obstacle now. This area of the trail here is actually kind of a combination of obstacles. Little obstacle, little flat spot, little obstacle. We are gaining some pretty serious altitude. I think we're gaining about 2,000 feet from where we started back there. The gearing on this Jeep wasn't great for the highway. We were kind of screaming, just trying to maintain the speed limits out here. It's 8 miles an hour on a lot of these highways, but I'll tell you, off-road, it's perfect. I mean, you put this thing in first gear and 4 low, and you just point it at what you want it to go over, and it goes over it. This thing's working really, really well. I'm very happy with the setup of this Jeep. So we just did a lot of climbing uphill, gained a ton of altitude, and now we're coming back down again. It's a pretty steep downhill. It's actually a really cool perspective because we're up at the top here and you can see the trail that we're heading down toward. So looking forward to this. It looks like it's going to be a little more gnarly than some of the stuff that we've been hitting. No brakes, no throttle. Just steer it in the right direction. Take it nice and easy. Like we're lining up here. We might be stopping for another big obstacle. This might actually be the wall that I keep hearing about, the big drop. We'll see what happens. So we're on a little bit of a break out here on the trails, but I do want to jump to the other big reason we came out to EJS this year, and that's the Vendor Expo. Jeep and Mopar always bring their prototypes out here, as well as a lot of other vendors bring some really cool builds. So let's check that out, and then we'll come back to the trails. One of the things I was most excited to see out here at EJS were the concepts that Jeep and Mopar team up to build and bring here every single year. You've probably seen some of the photos floating around the internet. Well, we get to check them out in person, and that's where we are right now. We're in the center of town at the Jeep display. So let's go take a look. So the first concept we're taking a look at today is called 4-Speed, and not because it has a 4-speed transmission, because this is all built to go fast and be a little bit more nimble than the factory Jeep is. So the floor was completely cut out and replaced with an aluminum panel. The tailgate has been completely cut out and replaced with a piece of stainless mesh. This thing has a ton of carbon fiber on it as well. It's also been shortened about 22 inches without changing the wheelbase of the factory two-door. The windshield's been raked back even further than the factory JL, and the roll cage has been replaced with something that is a smaller diameter. And this is the Jeep that's built for speed, so it has Jeep's new 2-liter turbocharged power plant. So this power plant is supposed to provide some great miles per gallon, but also a good amount of power. So it was the obvious choice for the fast Jeep. All of the weight savings and this power plant together really make this the quickest and most nimble concept. So this is Sandstorm. This was really built as a high-speed desert racer that can also do a little bit of everything else. So this Jeep has been stretched. Of course, it started as a 4-door Rubicon. It's been stretched 4 inches in the rear, 2 inches in the front, has 14 inches of travel up front, 18 in the rear. So all of that desert racing stuff that you would expect. Underneath, it has 2 Dynatrax Dana 60 axles, and they're able to hold the 39-inch tires here and all the power that's being put out by the big 6.4-liter V8 that's under the hood. This is still a 4-door, this is still a functional rear door, but it's been shaved and cut out, no door handle here. Some low back custom seats. The roll cage has been customized as well, deleting the tailgate entirely, having a built-in spare tire carrier. Really, every bit of this Jeep has been touched under the hood, inside, outside, top to bottom. This thing has been built for speed, but really to handle the abuse of desert racing as well. This is the Nacho Jeep, and this is probably the least concept Jeep that we're seeing here today, but it does have a ton of those Mopar aftermarket parts. Pretty much everything in the catalog is on this Jeep. So starting up front here, you have the Mopar winch bumper, and will accept pretty much any winch you want to put on it. This has these A-pillar light brackets, and this is something that's been a little bit different from all the other gens. Because of the way that this hinged bracket is built, there aren't a lot of bolts there that can be utilized for aftermarket brackets. Mopar built it this way. I'm sure the aftermarket will have something to say about that as well. You have some trail doors. This is a really nice offering from Mopar if you want something that you know is going to bolt right up to the Jeep. The interior here is the catskin leather interior. The lift kit that's on this Jeep is also a lift kit that's available directly from Mopar, including these wheels. These are actually a true beadlock for the JL. Coming around to the back side here, you can see that this whole third brake light bracket is a little bit different. Even on the inside here, you have the Mopar tailgate table installed. Literally everything in the catalog has been installed on this Jeep from front to back. This is a really great example of what you can build from parts directly from Mopar without even having to get into the rest of the aftermarket. The last concept we're going to talk about is the Jeepster, and this has the most aesthetic mods done to it. Of course, 4-Speed is built to go fast, Sandstorm is built for desert racing. This is built to look really cool, and I think it does a great job of doing that. It has a little bit of an old school paint scheme on it, and a few other styling cues that are really a homage to the old school Jeepster from back in the day. This also has a lot of Mopar parts on it. You have the Mopar front bumper, the hood, the light bracket. Right here, this is one of the areas that really give this Jeep a drastically different look. This top has been chopped top 2 inches, and the windshield has been raked back an additional couple of inches to really give it that low, mean bulldog styling. On the interior here, they didn't skimp. This also has the Mopar catskin leather. The top also has some additional customization, has a little bit of a fastback slant to it. Doesn't have that spoiler built into it like the factory JL top does. On the back of the Jeep, obviously, there's something missing here. It doesn't have a spare tire. That's on the inside of the Jeep with a custom spare tire mount on the inside. And what they use the spare tire mount are a couple of roto packs back here. I think this is a really cool Jeep. Looks completely different from the factory JL, but still has those JL roots. And I think it was a really great build by Mopar. So that's gonna do it for us over here at the concept vehicles. Now we're gonna go check out the Vendor Expo. We're here at the Vendor Expo at EJS. We have the Deegan Jeep parked over here at the Mickey Thompson booth. Want to give a big thank you to those guys for the awesome parking spot. And I could tell just driving in here that they have a ton of vendors, everything you've heard of and some that you haven't. I'm really excited to check all of those out. All of the vendors bring a really awesome build. These are SEMA quality builds or even crazier, but instead of being all shined up, they have rock rash and dust from running the trails. It's great to see that the vendors actually build these Jeeps and then take them out and wheel them. So let's go check out some of those vendors. There are a ton of JLs here, and a lot of them are really, really well built, like this Synergy Jeep behind me. This thing is stacked on another Jeep that's running a set of 40s, so you can see a ton of articulation. This thing was hitting the trails, and I'm sure it did just fine out there with a suspension system like this. This is going to be available for purchase for the new JL, this lift kit. So this has all 8 adjustable control arms, springs. They're running Bilstein reservoir shocks with this, and of course their heavy-duty tie rod kit that's adjustable as well, so you can set your toe and so you make sure you don't bend anything when you're on the trail. So this is just one of many lift kits that's being produced for the JL. I cannot wait until the aftermarket is in full force and we see even more modded Jeeps like this one. Walking along, we saw yet another awesome 4-door JL, big lift, big tires. This thing is really well set up, and this is in the Poison Spider booth. You'll probably know Poison Spider. They make really, really high quality armor products, and we've recently added them onto the site. So the front and rear bumper from a JK will more or less just bolt onto your JL, but they don't follow the new body lines exactly. This bumper has obviously been designed specifically for the JL. It follows the curvature of this front grille perfectly. One of the items that won't bolt directly from a JK onto a JL is any sort of side step or side armor. So this is something that Poison Spider has designed and manufactured just for the JL. So this is something that bolts directly through the body, has a couple mounts on the bottom, going to provide some really nice protection as well as a step. I really like the way this thing looks. It gives you that end-to-end protection really from fender flare to fender flare, and you know coming from Poison Spider that's going to be really high quality and give you some great protection. I'm super excited to have this type of stuff coming to the site. The Jeep beside me is one that anyone with a social media account will know. This is Code 1. This was the first big JL built all the way up to sit on a set of 42s, but this wasn't just suspension and big tires. This was built by Dynatrack. It has a set of built axles in it, and they didn't stop there. They moved up top and turned this 4-door into a 2-door, completely changing the entire look of the Jeep. Had Best Top build a custom top for it. And what they ended up doing, actually more recently, they added all of the interior mods to the back area here. So this has a ton of storage. It actually has room for somebody 6'1", 6'2" to lay down and comfortably sleep in the back of the Jeep here. It also has provisions for a canopy to be set up out the back, giving you some shade when you're out wheeling or when you're out camping. Even has some solar panels up top here designed to charge these dual batteries that will run your ARB fridge. So this thing is built from top to bottom, inside and out. One of the coolest builds, and one of those builds that I was really excited to see in person when we got here to EJS. This is an absolutely beautiful build that we found in TerraFlex's booth, and this is something that is actually more of a prototype than it is anything else. The suspension under this thing is not something that you're gonna see on our website or anybody else's anytime soon, if at all. This is actually a custom set of coilovers that TerraFlex built specifically for this Jeep to bring here to EJS. It has, of course, a ton of other suspension mods, but a lot of that stuff is JK stuff. This is running a set of TerraFlex JK axles, a JK long arm kit. It, of course, has those coilovers. Apparently, it handled the trails with those coilovers absolutely amazingly. The tires that are on this are also of note. These are 39s, but these are not KM2s, these are KM3s, and there are only about 14 of these tires produced so far. These are going to be coming out and available for everybody to purchase in June. This was just something that BFG gave the TerraFlex to test on the trail out here at EJS. So that's going to do it for the Vendor Expo. Now let's head back out on the trail and finish up Steel Bender. So we're here at the drop. This is one of the biggest obstacles that we're gonna hit on the trail today. There are two ways down. One is the bypass, which is still pretty gnarly, and then there's the regular way down the trail here. It's been washed out quite a bit, so it's a little bit deeper than it was in the past, making it even steeper. So definitely something where you're gonna wanna put a strap on your hitch. Make sure you don't do an endo. We're still undecided which way we're gonna go down. We're gonna watch a couple Jeeps hit both sides and then make a call. Probably gonna run down the bypass. It looks like it's a little bit more technical. This down here looks like it's a little bit more just hold on, steer in the right direction. There's not a whole lot you can do there. So I think we're gonna hit this. All right, here we go. It's our turn. All right, thanks guys.
Hey, make sure your front locker's out.
Yep, it's off. I'm hard over passenger, so that's as far as we're going. Okay. That wasn't so bad. Brakes are on the floor, but we made it. We're just pulling the strap off now, and then we'll continue down the rest of the way. Well, we made it. 37s and stock brakes are a little bit tough when you're coming down that steep of a hill, especially when you have all this armor on. There's a lot of weight that you're trying to hold back. I was trying to go as slowly as possible, keep everything controlled so the guys on the strap could actually do what they needed to do if it did start to come up on me, but those brakes were on the floor. We got another little climb going on over here. It doesn't look like much to the eye, but a couple of really well-built Jeeps are having some trouble on it. So we'll see how our two-door does. These four doors are getting hung up here. Just having to back up and pick a little bit of a different line here. We do have a spotter on the hill, so that'll help. It's like if we swing to the right a little bit and then more to the left, it's a little bit of a nicer line.
Don't turn into those.
Got it. Here we go. It is so much about picking the right line. It's not necessarily always about the equipment, and that's what that was all about. You follow your spotter really carefully and do exactly what he tells you to do. You can make it up stuff that otherwise you wouldn't be able to, or even a Jeep that's very similarly set up wouldn't be able to. So, and when you're out here in an event like this, you have guys that are wheeling every single weekend and they know these trails so well and they know how to guide you up them. The scenery is something that just does not get old. Everything is different. The rock is different, the way that everything looks. You can see snow-covered peaks off in the distance. It's really, really beautiful, and part of what makes wheeling out here so awesome. So that's gonna do it for this trip out to Easter Jeep Safari. I had an absolute blast out here at Moab, and it was a great first year. I hope I get to come back out and do this again. As a Jeep enthusiast, this is really the mecca. This is really one of the greatest events that you can come to. So glad I got to do it. We had an awesome time out on the trail, but we also had a lot of fun over at the vendor event, checking out all of those great manufacturers and also checking out those Jeep concepts. Seeing them firsthand was something that was really, really cool. This Jeep handled the trails really, really well. I want to give a big thank you again to Brian for letting us borrow it from him. He's getting it back all in one piece, but with just a little bit more rock rash and a few more miles on it. I also want to give a big thank you to the Borough of Land Management that helped us get everything set up so that we could shoot this video for you guys. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can check out other great videos like this and some of the best Jeep content out there.